the rage, the revolt, the revolution from the Indiana Fever fan base, the Caitlin Clark fan base, has not cooled off, has not subsided after the unimaginable, the unfathomable draft pick of Raven Johnson 2 nights ago.
What happens when a team builds its entire identity around one superstar, then starts pushing her to the side when the biggest moments arrive? The Indiana Fever believed the hype would carry on no matter what, but after the Caitlin Clark controversy, ticket sales suddenly started slipping. Fans were not just frustrated, they were sending a message. Was this simply a bad decision, or a complete disconnect between the franchise and the people supporting it? And now, with backlash growing louder, is this situation already spinning out of control?
Dip or bust. That's the only thing that's going to restore some type of faith in this Indiana Fever front office, and I'm not even sure if that is enough. Championship or bust. We all know if you have Caitlin Clark on her team, you got a shot. But if you really want Caitlin Clark to win, what are you gonna say? I want the best pieces possible around her. I want the best players around her. I want the best coach around her. I want the best general manager around her, the best president around her, the best ownership team around her, the best possible.
The moment the Indiana Fever started asking fans to buy tickets again, it stopped feeling like a normal promotion and became a real test of loyalty, one that many fans were no longer willing to pass. What had been building quietly behind the scenes had finally reached the surface, and this time, it was impossible to ignore.
Carolina player, a Dawn Staley minion, just 2 weeks ago, went on I Am Athlete on a podcast, called Caitlin Clark fans racist in front of everybody. And it's amazing. There's a subsection of fans out there that are willing to eat crap from the WNBA regardless. Eat from the Indiana Fever. Oh, I'm over it now. Really? You're over being called a racist? Just that quick?
What was once pure excitement around a rising franchise built around a generational talent has now turned into something far more complicated, as frustration, confusion, and disappointment start outweighing the anticipation and hope fans once felt.
Obviously, this has been the biggest talk on social media, Raven Johnson going to the Indiana Fever. And the reason why it's been the biggest talk is it goes back to college once again between Raven Johnson and Caitlin Clark, where they were playing in a game. Caitlin goes like this, kind of waves off Raven, and then Raven recently came out in an interview and just said how much that affected her. You know, there was a time where she almost felt like she wanted to quit basketball because of that moment, because of what she was seeing online. And here's the thing, you guys, my interactions with Raven, she was so excited to be
at the center of this entire situation is Caitlin Clark, a player whose arrival did not just transform one team, but changed the entire direction of women's basketball. Attendance exploded, television ratings climbed, and arenas that once struggled to fill seats suddenly became must-visit destinations. All because fans wanted to witness the impact she brought to the game.
Underrated players in basketball this year, and she was drafted last night. Every little girl who plays basketball's dream to the Indiana Fever, one of the most popular organizations in the W. They're getting a bougie new facility. They've got Caitlin Clark, one of the most talented players in the W. Aaliyah Boston, another #1 pick who went to South Carolina where Raven went. Like, on paper, this is a perfect situation. In real life where we live, Raven publicly has said that because of the bullying she experienced from Caitlin Clark fans, she literally considered quitting basketball.
Fans did not just show up for the Indiana Fever, they showed up for the energy, the pace, and the unpredictability that Caitlin Clark brought with her, making every game feel like an event instead of just another stop on the schedule. What made Clark special at the collegiate level was never only her talent, but the system built to maximize it. She played with freedom, controlled the tempo, and ran an offense that felt both chaotic and perfectly precise at the same time. That identity, the one that brought millions of new viewers into women's basketball, has not been fully recreated at the professional level. Instead, it has often felt like her game was being limited rather than unleashed, creating the sense that the system was restraining her instead of amplifying her impact. Fans accepted those decisions at first because they believed there was a long-term plan in place and trusted that the organization would eventually build around the strengths of its most valuable asset. That belief carried through the season and kept engagement strong, even when results were inconsistent, because supporters felt they were watching the early stages of something that would eventually come together into something special.
Oh, and never mind the logistical issues that the draft pick causes. The Indiana Fever went on a rampage yesterday on social media, on their Twitter X, trying to get you fired up for Raven Johnson. And then they made the mistake of asking you to buy tickets.
That fragile trust, however, took a major hit when the Fever used a high draft pick on Raven Johnson, especially after recent comments she had made about Caitlin Clark's fan base had already sparked controversy across the basketball community. The move did not happen in isolation. It came at a position where the team already had strength, which made the decision feel even more questionable to many supporters. This created the perception that the choice was not only controversial from a public relations standpoint, but also difficult to justify from a roster-building perspective. That only deepened the skepticism surrounding the organization's direction. So when fans were later met with promotional campaigns asking them to buy tickets, many saw it as a sign that their frustrations were being ignored or dismissed entirely, a dangerous message in a relationship built on trust, loyalty, and mutual respect. The reaction across social media made that shift impossible to miss. Instead of excitement, the dominant response was hesitation, frustration, and criticism. Many fans openly questioned whether they wanted to keep investing financially in a product that no longer matched their expectations. Some longtime supporters started reconsidering season ticket renewals, while others who had traveled long distances to attend games said they were looking at other teams, or simply stepping back altogether.
Indiana Fever fans are so exhausting sometimes. Why do you guys hate on players more than you love on your favorite player? Just listen to this. The Indiana Fever had the 10th pick in this year's draft, and they selected Raven Johnson out of South Carolina, and yet so many Caitlin Clark fans, as well as Indiana Fever fans, are mad about this. If you follow women's basketball, which happens to not be the new Caitlin Clark fans, you would know how big of a player she is. She can instantly become a starter for a Fever, a massive piece to win a championship with. And you're mad that they drafted her? But the real reason that some of these people do not like this draft pick is because of something that happened years ago in college.
This growing pattern highlights a critical reality for the Indiana Fever. Their recent rise in popularity is tied closely to a specific identity that fans expect to see protected. Caitlin Clark's appeal was never just about individual stats. It was about the style of play she represented. Her pace, creativity, and ability to turn every possession into something unpredictable offered a fresh experience that stood in sharp contrast to more traditional systems, and that is what connected with such a wide audience. When that identity starts to feel compromised, the emotional connection driving fan engagement begins to weaken. And once that connection is disrupted, rebuilding trust becomes much harder. Teams like the New York Liberty have shown how important it is to build systems around cornerstone players like Aya Wilson and Breanna Stewart. Those organizations created clear identities designed to maximize their stars' strengths, which led not only to competitive success but also to stronger fan loyalty and long-term belief in the direction of the franchise. In contrast, the Fever's current approach has created uncertainty. Fans are struggling to understand the long-term vision and how recent decisions fit into a larger, cohesive strategy. That lack of clarity becomes even more concerning in the bigger picture of the WNBA, where the league is experiencing a major surge in attention. But that momentum may not last if new audiences do not find strong enough reasons to stay invested.
Caitlin Clark finally got her Lou Dort. Now this was a good but horrible pick. Very horrible. And if you didn't know who she was, may I remind you, she's one of the Caitlin Clark haters from South Carolina. And we know how much these South Carolina fans are nasty and hateful and hate Caitlin Clark. So I know a lot of them is upset just as much as I'm upset that we picked her. And I understand why we picked her. You know, Caitlin them want to K-word those people with kindness.
Caitlin Clark's influence has brought in a wave of new viewers who are still forming their relationship with the WNBA, and their long-term interest depends heavily on whether the product matches the excitement that first pulled them in. If those viewers feel that the most exciting parts of the game are being reduced or held back, many may choose to disengage before that connection ever becomes permanent. That would be a missed opportunity not just for the Indiana Fever, but for the league as a whole. The situation also carries serious long-term implications for the franchise's ability to keep its most valuable player. Modern athletes pay close attention to organizational vision, support systems, and whether a franchise is truly committed to building around them. Talent alone is not enough. Players want clarity, trust, and proof that the organization understands what makes them special. Historical comparisons like the Boston Red Sox parting ways with Babe Ruth may sound dramatic, but they reflect a larger fear. What happens when an organization fails to fully recognize and protect transformative talent? Ultimately, the issue facing the Fever goes far beyond one draft pick or one ticket sales campaign. It points to a much deeper challenge involving identity, communication, and alignment between the franchise and the people who support it.
Now, because of that situation, like I got bashed, I got bullied, I got called all these things that I wasn't, aka like a monkey or this, I don't know, like it was just things like that. And I just think I wanted to quit basketball at that time. And I wanted to just go in this little bubble of isolation and just be by myself. And I think, you know, I leaned on God. I had some wonderful teammates, wonderful people in my life, like I said, and they helped me find that light, and it put so much fuel to the fire to me to go back the next year, and we were undefeated and met that team again.
Fans are not reacting to isolated moments anymore. They are responding to a growing pattern that suggests their expectations are not being prioritized. That shift is already showing up in behavior the franchise can no longer ignore. The drop in immediate enthusiasm for ticket purchases is an early warning sign. It may not be permanent yet, but it reveals just how fragile the momentum really is. Rebuilding that momentum will take more than on-court adjustments. It will require the organization to restore trust, clearly define its vision, and prove, consistently, that it is committed to maximizing the talent that brought it into the spotlight in the first place. What happens next is still uncertain, but one thing is clear. The relationship between the Indiana Fever and its fans is about to be tested in a very visible and immediate way. What has so far lived in comment sections, fan debates, and social media backlash will now play out on the court, where every possession, every lineup decision, and every substitution will be scrutinized with a level of intensity few teams in the league have faced in recent years.
The racism that Raven Johnson has experienced in the last 48 hours since being drafted to the Indiana Fever is disgusting. It's horrendous. The Indiana Fever fan base, the Caitlin Clark fan base, they are emboldened to be this way, to spew this hate, because the people that they are supporting have never checked their ass. And that responsibility falls on white women. It falls on white women in this organization. It falls on white women in this league. It falls on white women that are fans of the sport. It means Kathy, the WNBA commissioner, speaking up. It means Amber Cox, the Indiana Fever GM, denouncing this racism. It means Stephanie White, the head coach of the Indiana Fever, speaking out.
At the center of that scrutiny will once again be Caitlin Clark, not only in terms of her production, but in how she is used within a system that has already faced heavy criticism. If similar patterns from last season reappear, especially reducing her time as the primary initiator of the offense or shifting her more frequently off the ball, it is unlikely the fan response will remain patient or measured. Instead, it will likely strengthen the perception that the organization is not fully aligning its approach with the strengths of its most important player. In that environment, even small rotational or schematic decisions take on outsized meaning. They are no longer evaluated in isolation, but instead become part of a larger narrative that fans are actively building in real time. A single possession where Clark is not allowed to initiate may be interpreted less as a tactical choice and more as evidence supporting that broader storyline. This puts the coaching staff, led by Stephanie White, in an especially delicate position. The challenge now extends beyond standard basketball strategy and into the realm of perception management. Every decision has to balance competitive goals with the need to rebuild and maintain trust, which is far more complex than simply adjusting rotations or optimizing lineups. It requires constant awareness of how each choice is likely to be received, interpreted, and amplified by an audience that is already highly sensitive to the direction of the franchise.
Coach around her, I want the best general manager around her, the best president around her, the best ownership team around her, the best possible pieces around Caitlin Clark. That's what I want. And what transpired Monday night, what's transpired through free agency, has left little to be desired when it comes to having faith, having trust in this front office. The Indiana Fever continue to face backlash over this offseason, continue to face backlash over the draft, continue to face backlash over Stephanie White.
Meanwhile, the broader league landscape continues to evolve, with teams like the Las Vegas Aces and the New York Liberty setting a clear benchmark for how elite talent is structured and supported. Their success is driven not only by roster strength, but by organizational clarity, Systems where cornerstone players such as Aya Wilson and Brianna Stewart are consistently placed in roles that maximize their influence and reinforce their value on both a competitive and cultural level. For the Fever, that comparison makes the early stretch of the season especially significant. It is the period where the foundation being built can either begin to restore confidence among fans or deepen existing doubts. A clearer alignment between system and star could start to repair a relationship that has been strained in recent weeks. On the other hand, continuing along the same trajectory that led to last season's frustrations risks accelerating the current trend, turning hesitation into disengagement and criticism into apathy. That distinction matters because criticism still reflects emotional investment, even if it is negative. Apathy, however, signals something far more concerning, that fans are beginning to detach entirely, and once that happens, rebuilding interest becomes significantly more difficult.